Hi, this is Eric Stromquist. Welcome to Control Talk. Now, episode 207, your smart buildings videocast and podcast for the week ending. Well, I'm not sure what week it's ending because we're actually doing this on a Tuesday, which is unusual for us. But with the holidays and other things, we were out. At least I was out. But the man who was always on the case, your co-host, my co-host, the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, what do you call him? Kenny Smyers from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Hey, Kenny, welcome to the show. Big dog.
Well, thank you, Eric. You're right. We've been racing around. I know you've been on a travel mode for since prior to Thanksgiving, and so have I. So we're kind of catching up in a way, but got a couple really good posts to talk to. I think this is going to be a pretty short and sweet show because we are building now towards we're all engines and all focus is going into the ControlTrans Awards coming in the very near future, January 29th at Las Vegas, Hard Rock Cafe. Looking forward to it. We're ironing out all the details there. We appreciate all the sponsors and the support. And the commitment that they make to make our show, a realistic, venture that brings something to the industry. So we get a lot of compliments, and we can't tell everybody enough how much we appreciate it and how important we think it is, because this is our opportunity to recognize the superstars, heroes, the people that are the ordinary go-to-work types that just have been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years, some of these guys and girls. And this is our opportunity to really and truly give them that Hollywood one-night-a-year focus, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Me too, Kenny. And yeah, our sponsors, you can check them out. Our platinum sponsors on the right-hand side of the ControlTrends page, and we've been talking about them each week. And this is a truncated show. I just encourage you to check them out. Great folks, and Kenny, it is going to be a fantastic show. So I can't wait for that. And I think we will just, we're counting the ballots now in the nomination period. And I think we'll just take next week's show, which we'll cut this weekend. It'll air Monday. Will be the finalists. So stay tuned for that. The finalists will be announced on next week's Control Talk Now, the Smart Buildings video cast and podcast. But buddy, like I said, we got a little bit of a truncated week or a couple weeks. So, we got some important posts. Let's hit a couple of them. What do you say?
Indeed, Eric. Well, the first one is Acuity Brands, recreating building automation and smart buildings. So the equation is Acuity, Distect, and DG Logic equals Sublime Synergy. And that was a very cool visit you made to their facility in Atlanta, which you're going to tell us a little bit about. But Acuity brand headquarters is in Conyers, Georgia. And Ryan Sen gave you an awesome overview of the interesting synergies that are being caused by taking expertise in three different separate sectors: lighting, building automation, and building management, and then incorporating that with the fabulous DG Logic data visualization and turning that into this big, powerful yet very specific analytics.
No, it really was, Kenny. And I did get to visit the plant in Conyers, which was fantastic. They have all these, for our listeners who might know, Acuity is primarily known for lighting. I mean, these guys are, one of the top people in lighting and the psychological effects of lighting and everything else. And Ryan sort of showed me how the Distech system and the DG Logic system is sort of incorporated into sort of how they're bundling it to make it different. And I also have an interview with Dan Flaherty from Distech as well. And Dan walked me around. You will see more of that once I get that interview posted. But, Kenny, you walk out there, the facility, you could be in Silicon Valley. I mean, it's just cool. They got the cool rooms. They really attract a lot of young talent. But you go in, they got different environments. So they have like a convenience store, a C-store type environment. They've got office space environments. They got different type of buildings. And each space you walk into, they got the different lighting controls and lighting effects. And, you and I have studied or talked a lot about the $300 rule, which, again, $3 per square foot is typically spent on energy, $30 on equipment and furniture, and $300 is the cost that typically goes into, the cost to have people in your facility. They say in California, Silicon Valley, it might be as high as $800, Kenny. But, we've talked about if you can reduce that $300 or $800 spend by having people be more productive, that's where you really want to play. And I think Acuity really has a leg up with that, Kenny. They really understand the psychological effects of color, And, if you listen to Ryan talk and Dan talk, Distech is starting to incorporate that in. So, for example, in a school, a K through 12, in the morning, if they're a little bit sleepy, they might warm the lights up a little bit so that they get them, get the kids revved up. And, after recess, they might cool the lights down to slow them down. But there's a whole science to that, which to me is absolutely fascinating. And it's very interesting the way Acuity and Distech and DG are sort of bundling up to sort of capture that.
Well, sure. I mean, agriculture, and the first times we've seen experiments with lighting to accelerate a process. We've seen with the chickens and how they shorten a 24-hour day into 18 hours or even shorter, I guess sometimes. So agriculture, that if you give 12 to 14 hours of sunlight or daylight to certain plants or whatever, they respond. They yield a harvest quicker. Well, that same concept applies to the medical industries, where people have quicker healing cycles. They get back to work, they get back on their feet. They feel healthier. They feel more robust, and it's stimulated by the light. So we're all driven by our environment. We're all beings of Homo sapien responds to its environment. In terms of stimulus. So if you have an environment that's catering to that, you're going to have better results. So the thing that really impresses me too about Acuity, Distech, and DG Logics is they're taking this IoT vertical solution to real new frontiers, new grounds. It's not just buildings anymore. They're taking it to the agricultural markets. They're taking it to business intelligence, where retail people can really and truly maximize their efficiencies. They can maximize their return on investments and give the people that really need to know precise information and then see responses. So again, the thing with dwell times and everything down to the contextualization that we know so well is really being put into an application that drives better sales and better return on investment. So healthcare, industrial and intelligence buildings, oil and gas industries, and of course, smart cities and transportation and logistics. So we're looking at somebody who's going outside the box, outside the building envelope, into new frontiers where we, as in our roles as distributors and systems integrators and systems distributors, need to follow these leads, because this is going to be the new future. If you're reading Ken St. Clair, we're going to be talking about that in a second. But we got change afoot here, and people are moving the cheese all over the board.
Yeah. So real quick, so the dwell time is kind of a key concept, Kenny, and for our listeners who might not know, basically the way this Acuity system can work is if you're in a retail store, for example, and you stop in front of the Cocoa Puffs for a particular period of time, the system will know it, and it could email you a coupon to 10% off on Cocoa Puffs or whatever. So that's the kind of stuff we're seeing happening. Now, me personally, they do that kind of stuff to me, and I'm not going to be happy about it, because I'll pay extra for my Cocoa Puffs if you leave my email or text alone.
I don't believe that. I believe everybody has a price, and even the almighty Eric Stromquist can get a coupon and
90% off, and you can have my email address.
If it's a camera, if it's a Lycon special, you're in the Lycon store, and they know that you've been there and you just spent X amount of money in the last, say, 12 months or 24 months. They know you're subject to be very tempted to take a look at that newest model, and they say, Eric, trade us that old one in, baby, and we get you a very good price.
Well, let me tell you something, Kenny, I hate to admit this, but when I was my younger years, I never saw a woman I didn't like, okay, and they got me in a lot of trouble, cost me a lot. In my older age, I've never seen a camera I didn't like. So for those of you who don't know, I've got quite the camera collection. I just cannot say no. So I'm very weak when it comes to that. So you're right. The Leica store, I'd probably be vulnerable to that. So if you see me trying to sign up for a Leica coupon, don't let me do it. Stop me. Tell me to just say no.
Well, you know what? It's cool. I think that we're all changing. We don't want to admit it. That monolithic stands towards this is the way I am. This is my sweet spot. This is the way I like things. Guess what? In this period of disruption, we're seeing disruption on a global scale. We're seeing disruption in politics. We're seeing disruption in economics. We're seeing just everywhere around the world. South Korea, Britain, now Italy, of course, United States. There's a whole different message being spoke by the people that are affected by this disruption. This is our opportunity to come out and express an entirely different perspective on old stuff, the way we used to do it. So I don't think we're going to see, a whole lot of things staying the same here in the next 12 to 24 months, because the innovation, the rate, the cycle turns, and again, we'll be talking about this a little bit later on with a post from Ken St. Clair, is that what used to take 4 years, 5 years is now taking 2 years, 1 year, and even that's being shortened down into 6 months periods of time. That so it's good and it's bad. It has its certain benefits and it has certain annoyances. But the thing about it is that like we've all dealt with Microsoft, now we're at Microsoft 10. We've all gone through pains, whether it was XP, 2000, whatever. Certain things don't work, or the relationships within your community, your ecosystem of controls and front ends or whatever. If somebody changes this here, well, that has ripple effects throughout your entire network. If you have 10 different buildings and they're not on the same speed and all the computers are on different versions of Windows, you need somebody that get there and manage it. And a lot of people are reluctant to do that at the pace being set by technology. So
yeah, as we're fond of saying, Kenny, it used to be riskier to be the first adopter, right? Being a first adopter could be very risky, and as you and I are saying, the new trend is it might be risky to wait. So, all right, buddy, what do we have next?
We got we're going off on different tangents, but that one was kind of the new tangent, new innovations, and now our next post is on one that's a very, very solid, pretty stable environment with expertise in engineering of unparalleled performance. That's Belimo in the fire protection scenarios. We came across this. We get a chance to attend the Belimo webinars that really and truly go deep down into what valving is all about, what direct coupled actuators are all about, how you can save money just by using a certain style actuator, all the way to very, very life safety critical applications environment. So the next post was on the fire protection scenario, why you use a motorized versus non-motorized. It's a video that I would recommend everyone to watch, whether you're an engineer, whether you're a building owner, whether you're a contractor. Most people know this. Most people are dealing with it on a day-to-day basis, but won't see a pictorial summary or a video summary of what a building looks like when you don't motorize your valves and certain things happen, and how smoke goes through a building or a tenant building especially. And we just saw those disasters out there in California that are just they're numbing, that people would have to be experiencing that kind of stuff in this 2016. So I think we're going to see just an accelerated just another major focus on safety. I think everybody's going to take a look at their facility, make sure that they can bring things up to speed, up to code, and one of the most important things is the way you deal with the safety of your occupants and firefighters who need to travel through a building during emergency exit routes as quickly as possible. And there's definitely certain tactical methods to ensure the greatest amount of safety and reduce as much risk to the tenants and occupants as possible. So the strategies vary with each situation, but take a look at this video because it really does a good job.
Well, the video is it, and I tell you what, Kenny, I think the thing about smoke dampers, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. They never work unless, you never test them unless they have a fire, right? So I think one of the messages there is you've got to have, a periodic period where you're testing those dampers, because they only work if there's a fire and those links go off, right? So you have to test them and you have to document that you've tested them, right? Because if there is an accident and you haven't done that, then, I don't know about you, but I don't need to see any more lawyers, right? Thanksgiving and the holidays is enough.
But you're so right. I mean, and it's not like it's a frailty of being human. Out of sight, out of mind. So, what works, you leave it alone. What doesn't work, you got to fix it. But it's always this rapidity. It's always kind of a fire drill, to use the term over again. It's never something that's planned deliberately into your quarterly or your semi-annual inspections. But this is automatic. So what Belimo is advising, and what they're prepared to do is you automate that testing so that you can test in accordance with your particular code. The video is very interesting because it's in the European mode or Canadian mode. It's Celsius, and so everything we see, instead of seeing Z's on motorized, we're seeing S's, the English version. But as you can see in this video here, it shows you what the typical scenario is. We've got fire or smoke coming from some combustion source. It's not supposed to be there. The fire alarm alerts. You get the shutdown of your mechanical equipment, the fan shutdown. And then, what happens is if you don't have this motorized thing, it gives you a pretty good visual understanding of the way smoke travels. And if the dampers don't close, the smoke migrates and becomes a larger, more serious problem than it already is, so. but I think it's it's always good. I think Control Trends, we'd like to share those video collateral that's out there, and and Belimo is one of the best for giving the concept in a short period of time, giving you a good understanding from A to Z, and then influence you to take the right steps to ensure maximum safety.
Right. And Belimo's a platinum sponsor again, so we really appreciate that. And a lot of those videos, I think, are due to Lisa Hickey over at Belimo. She does a great job with their marketing. And a special shout out to Gary Weber and Chad Blackmere. Belimo is just, like I say, they're at the top of their game. But kind of like that BMW commercial where they say all we do is make cars. I mean, these guys just make incredible actuators. So check them out.
Indeed. All right, next up we have Ken St. Clair, Automated Buildings December theme, the IoT future of building automation. And then we have a heading there, you ought to read this, because as we continue to, get excited about what's happening, it's important to keep your feet on the ground, and it's not magic, so it's going to take time. But as you make more investments and as you spend more time and energy to, look into your future interests, you want to keep a good index of what's likely to affect our industry and when's going to happen. So Ken is doing a fabulous job. I give him credit that he could, he's kind of like a seer in our industry, that he's so involved with everybody, and because of what he does with automated buildings, he gets to hear some of the first versions and first scenarios. And I think he's been so overwhelmed with some of these from around the world that he's really and truly turning it into a like a
Notre Dame.
Oracle, or Notre Dame.
Oracle, yeah. Do you want a chocolate chip cookie?
Well, what do you? Yeah, there you go. Remember, he watched that movie Matrix, because we had recommended. But summarizing it, it's basically there's next generation technologies coming. There's a reduction in the number of products to get information from where it's needed into the cloud or into the program, the analytic program. So that's all changing. We're seeing a flattening of the architecture. We're also seeing a reduction in the size. We're seeing some of the important third-party analytic programs, data, visualization programs. We're seeing all these things getting kind of incorporated or being provided by cloud providers. But one of the big things, and you mentioned it about the 300 metrics, was that the user experience now, this UX factor, is being put into everybody's. Whether you're a service station providing gas and convenience food, or you're a doctor, a medical provider, you have to survey your customers to get their recent opinion of how well they were serviced, what their user experience was. And the incredible thing where this week I kind of caught on to it was that we had an opportunity to read about the vice president of user experience for Distech, or for Acuity brands. So when you see people starting to assign vice presidents of the user experience, you know that this is a very, very important aspect of the services or the solutions you provide, and you need that feedback from your customers to stay on track. So everybody that doesn't have a user experience formula into their business model needs to add one, because that's how you really understand that you're putting that you're hitting the target, where your customers, their expectancies are being met. The only way to really measure that is through their feedback, and whether it's a hotel, motel, or shopping center, or car dealership, everybody's really fighting for that user experience feedback.
Hey, Kenny, I just got to hop in for a question. I got to ask you something, because you're totally right about that. I can't go buy a pack of gum without getting something wanting me to rate my user experience. So, I mean, am I the only one that's just sort of getting frustrated with that? I mean, it's just I cannot go do anything without having to rate my user experience. And so for me personally, my user experience, if you want to enhance that, don't ask me about my user experience. I'm tired of it. I'm really pissed off about it. And to the point that if I have a choice between two people, one that's going to ask me about my user experience and one who's not, I'll go to the one who's not. Because let me tell you something, if I'm having a bad user experience, I'll let you know about it. But stop with the surveys already, right? I mean, some places you can't even check out unless you rate their user experience. It's crazy. Sure. It's crazy. But anyway, I digress.
Well, I think what'll happen is it'll go through and become a staple, and it'll become a minimalized aspect of it. Right now, it's like you said, it's pervasive. You go to the gas station, they say you fill out the survey, you can win $1,000. I mean, everybody is trying to elicit it, and I think it's almost like IoT, and it's almost like we talked about social media a few years back. Remember, social media was the big, everybody kept mentioning it. Everybody had to have a position towards it. But then soon enough, it became so automatic and pervasive that it just simply became part of an aspect. It was no longer the big deal. It wasn't the front page heading. You weren't bombarded by it, but it was incorporated. It was toned down so low that it didn't annoy people, but yet it still is a staple factor of the customer transaction. So the user experience will never go away, because I mean, we need to have the feedback of customers, and there's no better way to do that than them prompting, so giving you the rating. But if we ask for it, it's less than likely to ever be improved. So I think you're right, it is. I mean, Amazon, you get like Christmas, we get a couple things sent every single time we get somebody mails it. We get 2 or 3 surveys on, did we ship it fast enough? Did we ship to the right location? Was the contents, were you satisfied with the boxing, the packaging? I mean, it's just, so, but I think what's happening is they're defining the actual template. Once the template's been formed, a lot of this will go away. It'll become second nature, because like you said, then you'll report it by exception, because they've already done all their homework.
I remember, Kenny, by exception. I got you. I remember, Controls Group North America. I'm going to make a plug for those guys, because among other things, it's the top distributors in the country. And we get together and we try to be better. And part of Controls Group North America is a marketing aspect. And I remember we had a program back in the day when we hit sort of I think it was 2008 or whatever. It was a depression. And the vendors come to you and they kind of go, we got to get our sales up. And when you're in a recession, I mean, it doesn't matter whether people need stuff or want stuff. If they don't have the money for it, you can't get it. So we were trying to create value. So we created what we called a field to factory marketing survey. Because again, the deal was they were all sending sending emails out, eliciting response and stuff like that. Or they'd send their vendors out, their sales reps out to get the data. Because again, getting the data is one thing, Kenny. Getting true, meaningful data is absolutely another thing. And, what we basically did was, as a group, because we had the personal relationships, we were able to go out and, talk to a vendor. What do you want to know? And because we handle multiple brands and our customers are not, because, if you go in with brand X and they're going to tell you what you want to hear. If I got a chance to win $1,000 for filling a survey out, do you think for a minute I'm going to give them a bad rating? Hey, we're going to give Eric $1,000 because he said our service sucked, right? So I mean, how do you get the data where it's not skewed? So this worked really well, and I would encourage any of the vendors in Controls Group North America to reach out to Jim Heyman and ask him about a field to factory survey, because we could go in and we could say, hey, look, I'm just curious. I mean, out of these 3 actuators, which ones do you like best? How do you make the decision? Because with us, they can't game the system. And because we have the relationship, they're going to tell us either go pound sand or, hey, they got a minute to talk to us. So I think at the end of the day, it sort of gets back to, and I mean, we're in this age of technology, right? And I think it gets back to good old fashioned, how do you have a conversation? And I think if you really want to get the data, they're probably going to look for old people like me and you and maybe Ken Sinclair that can go in and, and actually talk to people. And I think it's going to be, our girl in marketing, Stacy, because, we send our email blast out, and I mean, our open rates keep going down and down and down. We've started doing snail mail again. And guess what? It's getting a better response because nobody else is doing it, right? So I hear what you're saying, and I think it's a trend we're going to see. And again, my question is, and there are probably a lot of people a lot smarter than me that are involved in this, and reach out in comments and let us know. How do you measure the accuracy of that? Because I tell you what, I get something, I can win $1,000. I'm giving you a great rating.
Well, Eric, I put it up here. I don't know if you can see it in the screen, but basically this is so big, this user experience. It's actually a governmental term where the usability.gov has put together a nice little thing. We have a hot button on it under user experience. If you hit that, it takes you to this page here. But user experience focuses on having a deep understanding of users, what they need, what they value, their abilities, and their limitations. So what happens, I think, is what you do is it's worth the effort, because there's a user experience honeycomb that tells you with what feedback you get, and if you do offer what they call it, a bribe, ethical bribe, yeah, so that you give somebody a reward, a possible win of an iPad or whatever. But really and truly, that information is so absolutely valuable, because it helps you stratify your customers. It helps you put a percentage to the number of people that are annoyed by the experience. So by having that information, you're poised to make much better marketing decisions, much better return on investment decisions, because you're going to be hitting more of the sweet spots each time. But to kind of carry the conversation forward, Ken St. Clair's work that he's done is he's basically, if we just look at the last couple of months, he's taken us from the 300 metric. He's taken us through the user experience last November's theme, and now he's talking about what's going on. He says, I'm going to read this real quick because it's 2 sentences, but it's really and truly an incredible synopsis of the future of our business. He said, future automation will be a full embrace of IoT. Systems will be smarter, self-learning, edgy, innovative, and sophisticated. They will automatically configure and integrate new equipment so they can optimize themselves, self-manage, self-heal while reinventing purposeful, productive, desirable building and accommodation. So desirable building and accommodation. So, and then he says the people doing it are these new next-gen folks that don't want to go into office buildings. They don't want to do this. They don't want to do that. They want access. They want to take advantage of the IoT so that physical place suddenly changes its meaning. But I give Ken a lot of credit for pushing hard that we understand this. Every time we see this, we got to realize it is hitting us. We need to embrace IoT, but what level? All is personal choice, and all is a business model choice. But Oswald from CBRE and ESI really hit a very important nail on the head to be kind of what you're thinking is that this is a horse and a cart scenario. And if you're not going to fix a building or replace the bad equipment, what's the point of making bad buildings and bad stuff smart and paying to analyze that data? So he says, perhaps, or I've taken what he said and reformulated the concept of the focus should remain on the cake, not the IoT icing. So
nice.
But the December edition of Automated Buildings is a very important read, and I suggest that anybody that really takes themselves seriously in the building automation world, read that, because you've got 8 to 10 people with very important perspectives on pretty much the same thing and what the impact's going to be. So if you're a building owner and you want to know how you're going to take how to spend your budget, what's going to give you the greatest return on investment, you'll be swayed by Paul Oswald to say, don't overlook repairing that chiller or replacing that air handler. And then, by putting on this little, or put in an analytic package, and all of a sudden, whatever's going on, what you're archiving your set points and your actual temperatures, and archiving your KW meter when or using that to make decisions or whatever. Go fix the stuff first, so fix it, then meter manage or meter measure manage. But so it's just really an interesting composite of very, very smart thinking in our industry.
Right. Well, and I tell you what, we normally get Ken on at the beginning of the month to talk about the issue. And obviously, with me being out of town, we're a little bit behind the 8 ball. And then, like I said, the next show we'll be doing the finalists. But maybe we get Ken on third week in December or whatever. We'll try to get him on to talk about this December issue, because I agree with you, Kenny. I think it's a very important issue. And I think Ken really does a great job of sort of keeping us on top of things, right? And speaking about,
don't forget that UHR, how Ken's got those. He's sending out more information for everybody about the collaboratory that's coming up in January at the AHR show. Please refer to those posts we have on Controltrends, because there's a very, very good, in-depth, intense, intelligent, sessions on various parts of our business and the future of our business.
Yeah, and those things are fantastic. Ken does a great job getting the thought leaders in the industry together. And Ken will be at the ControlTrans Awards. I think he'll be inducted another Hall of Fame inductee. So exciting.
Young guns?
Young guns and stuff like that. Yeah, we got the young, we got the old, we got the in-between, man. We are like an Italian hoagie sandwich, right?
Well,
hey, no, but speaking of that, real quick, I'm going to do my segue. You ready for a segue?
I'm ready.
Because speaking of that, man, speaking of a guy who's on top, or guys that are on top, EasyIO, and you had the ability to meet, see our friend Mike Marston, right?
I sure did. I was with Mike Marston and Lim Hoon Chat on a couple of calls, and I'll tell you what, it's always fun to be with a guy who understands the economics of it. One of the owners or the owner, and how he is in a position to decide where they're going to make their investments and how they're going to continuously improve a controller that right now is pretty much the pace setter in terms of one single controller having so much inside of it, so feature rich that, when do you say enough is enough? And then to sit there and listen to Lim, who is an inventor, patenteer, who's had several, very, very deep experiences in technology and patent stuff. So he's working on some things that are going to, again, constantly build on the framework. Once you put something into a building, once you put an EasyIO FG32 Plus into a building, you're going to change the whole perspective and the whole personality of the building, because now anything you want to know is web enabled, and you can bring it into the controller. It also has inputs and outputs, so it can take a plant controller or a lead lag boiler application, and it's self-contained. You don't need any I/O outputs because they're on board. But they're taking technology, the IoT technology. See, I'll be honest with you, I'm really not a big IoT guy, because it's not like I don't want to. It's like accounting. I do it. I could get past the courses. I get a passing grade, but do I love it? Do I really enjoy it? And do I want to do that for my living? No. So when I hear people put it into terms that I can understand, and when you see how they do their script writing and how you could take other applications right out of the internet, right off the internet, whether it's a graphic or whether it's some kind of a application, and you can insert it right into your FG32 to make it part of your web browser experience. So you can do graphics, you can do analytics, you can do any kind of gauge insertions, any kind of representations. I didn't understand how easy that was until
Well, yeah. Well, and I tell you what, not only that. So you were in Pittsburgh. They came to Pittsburgh, and then Martin Scorsese's nephew, I think Kenny Scorsese, the famous videographer from Pittsburgh, actually videoed a little interview you did. So let's take a look at that right now.
Okay.
Alrighty, this is Ken Smyers with ControlTrans Awards. The nomination period's over for the 2016 ControlTrans Awards. We're now going into the voting phase, and with me today is Mike Marston and Lim Hoon Chot from EasyIO. Mike, the FG32 Plus has done remarkably well in the past ControlTrans Awards. This year, it's also a great contender. Tell us why.
Well, the main thing is we've just got everything in one box, and it's just priced at a point with free tools, no annual renewal fees. It's really easy to get on board with it. We run regular training classes. We've got BACnet client, BACnet server, Modbus master, Modbus slave, inbuilt HTML5 graphics, and as you see here now, we've got built-in dashboards as well. So, nobody likes to see things for free, and that's not what we're trying to do, but we do believe in being an enabler. So smaller buildings can behave like big buildings, and we still have a lot of work to do on small buildings as a country, as a world even. It's been very well accepted now in over 40 countries. We've now got them going in Aeon panels, being factory fitted on Aeon units now. We've got them going into Walmarts, got them in Best Buy, Rite Aid. They're going all over the place. And it's been a lot of fun. And Lim, who's with me, you'll see just in a moment, Lim is busy building new things also using open source software and services. And that actually makes things more secure, not less. We're also bringing out SSL email coming out soon as well. So we've beefed up the security as well. It's just getting more powerful all the time and easier to use.
Alrighty, thanks, Mike. Lim, tell the ControlTrans community what's up. We talked about the FG32 Plus and what a great controller that is. Tell us what the EasyIO has in the future in store.
Thanks, Ken. We are working on quite a few stuff coming up next year, somewhere around the middle next year. One of it is wireless. So we are developing a wireless controller called the FW14. So this is Wi-Fi based. It has every capability like full Sedona live programming. It has BACnet IP over Wi-Fi itself.
Yeah, BACnet IP.
And it's priced at a very competitive price. You have a choice whether you want to do Wi-Fi or Ethernet both at the same time. You could do that.
Also a BACnet client, right?
Yeah, it has also have a BACnet client through the RS-485. So you can pick out a few devices, bring the points in, and be part of the Sedona logic that you have in FG itself.
So on a rooftop unit, you could have your VFDs could be BACnet, MSTP, and yet you're still going to have enough points to do all your rooftop stuff. Plus, you're not going to have any comms wiring on the roof. Right?
And we'll come out in two models, the FW14 and the FW8. Which is an 8-point controller with 4 inputs and 4 outputs.
And the plan also is the FW8 will become a VAV controller as well. So a Wi-Fi mesh above the ceiling, no comms cables, live wire sheets with BACnet IP into the VAV box.
Awesome. Well, there's no mistake about it. Last year, EasyIO did really well with wireless, and this year they continue to put more and more new innovation and technology into play in the space where we need it. Mike, tell us in closing here about your pyramid, one of my favorite analogies for markets.
Well, basically we don't play in the top part of the pyramid. We call those monuments, and normally the big field offices, big company field offices like to do those jobs. But no, the bottom side is bigger, it's deeper, it's wider, and it's still untouched in our view. Still massive amount of growth.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's Kenny Scorsese version of EasyIO. Ken, good work there, buddy. You're getting really good with that iPhone.
All right. Well, then I got to give you a timeout, official timeout. You went away recently, and you talked about the iPhone and the encouragement you give me to just break the ice, break the barrier, just do it. Capture it, and then it's going to come out okay. So it's like a leap of faith. It's like jumping in front of people and doing stuff. So I'm past that point. But you just went to a professional. Photography and media. Was it like a webinar training? But just give us a synopsis of what you did down there and how that's.
Yeah, well, I was in Miami. They had the Art Basel thing down there, and they have one of the largest photography gatherings on the planet. So they have some of the greatest teachers there. So I got with a couple of National Geographic documentary folks. And we had to create a project, and it had to be the mystery of Miami. We had to play with in focus, out of focus type stuff. So it was challenging. And we go out and shoot, most of the night, and then usually in the morning, and then we'd have to select our best 10 photos out of each day, and they would tell us what was right or wrong about them. And it occurred to me, and I think this is relevant. About the second or third day, I go, I took 600 photographs last night. I'm picking 10, but I'm picking them based on my limitations. So I want you to pick them because you're the experts. I'm not. And oddly enough, or maybe not so oddly, the ones that I would discard were the ones they thought were great, and they could tell me why they were good. So we had to create a documentary, a mystery out of that. And I tell you what, Kenny, if our audience is interested, let's put a link to that video if they want to check it out. My murder in Miami. I had to kill a few people off down there, but we'll check that out. I'll put the link in. But I think the deal is, the takeaway for me, Kenny, is if you ever want to get better at something, you just got to get around people that really are experts and know. And that's where these shows like AHR come in, I think. And that's where guys like Ken Sinclair are such a gift to us, because they have the experience and they have the knowledge. And, and I think if you're ever willing to open yourself to that and humble yourself to people who've been around and listened to them, it really enriches your abilities. And so special thanks to the folks in Miami, but also to the greats in our industry that share with us on Control Trends.
Right. That was interesting because it was right before we went on the sales call. So I was getting a good prep, but I always think the importance of preparation when you do sales calls, when you do presentations, if you get a chance to have a huddle and talk things over before you go in there, it really is, it's very, very beneficial, because everybody kind of, knows their part and is ready to participate at the right time. Eric, that brings us to our last post, which is you talk about the chief technology officers, you talk about executives. This guy is a one of a kind. He is one of the premier members, starter members of Tritium, and he's been there for a long time and been the staple of their success. This post is about John Sublett and the new thing that Tritium is doing. Jenny Graves is introducing the faces of Tritium, and we're big fans of all that, because we know that it's not magic. We know that in order to be successful year in, year out, you've got to have some very important leadership that's committed to the organization's success and is capable of being a leader and managing success. So this is a kickoff of a new 5-part series called Faces of Niagara, to introduce you to some of the inside leading minds behind the industry's only truly open technology platform. So the Faces of Niagara is a story told by those who shaped and steered a web-based management system into the technology that powers IoT today. And I think your ControlTalk people also is running a very, very similar initiative, because we believed in that too, and we will continue to. But it's great to see Tritium introduce on a personal level some of their top people.
No, it really is. And Jenny Graves is one of the truly great minds in our industry. I think she's up for the ControlTrans Woman of the Year, as well as I think some other awards. So Jenny, congratulations. Very, very, very well done. And Tritium's on the move, Kenny. And I think with that, buddy, even though we try to have a short show, we're still rocking and rolling. So I think with that, buddy, it's Tuesday. You and I both got to go get to work. So I got to get this edited and hopefully posted. And so with that, big dog, man.
Early Tuesday.
Early Tuesday. Yeah, very early Tuesday.
Early Tuesday.
Yeah, I got to go get my kids up here in a minute, or my kids will get my wife up, and then she'll get me. Anyway, that's another story. So, all right. Hey, so with that, this is the end of episode 207 Control Talk. Now Your Smart Buildings videocast and podcast. A very special thanks to Mike and Lim and Kenny Scorsese, that famous videographer out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So with that, be bold and stay in control.
Thanks, Eric.
Well, wait a minute. What about it? Yeah. Take two.
Well, I was looking at your yeah. Well,
All right, so be
the clock
bold.
came up. We went over 40 minutes.
Be bold and stay in
We went over
control.
40 minutes.
Be bold and stay in
Indeed,
control.
Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smyers. All right, buddy, get to work. I'll talk to you later.